Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. We've got special guest, our data analyst, Mike from Chat City Tactics at Chat City Tactics on the show today, taking the place of Justin. Mike, how's the week going for you, man? I mean, probably could be better coming off last night, but how are you?
Yeah, you said it right. I'm as good as I can be.
Yeah.
It's Thursday, so it's almost Friday. One day closer to forgetting about whatever the heck we saw on Wednesday night. So the faster this week goes on, the better for all of us, I think.
Yeah, and dude, I'm hoping that this conversation can be cathartic in a way and just kind of working through, piecing through some of the misgivings, we can call it, of last night. Obviously devastating. We're recording this at the time, basically 24 hours after tying. I almost said losing, but it feels like that
So
too.
24 hours ago, we were up 2-0, I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, you are right.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it'll
24
get
hours.
worse
We
in
were good.
about the next half an hour. That's for sure.
Yep, and we'll record into that time as well. So we'll hit that. We'll hit that 24-hour period there. But Mike, before we get into the sporting of it all, we'll talk about Minnesota as well here. Injuries been a huge theme this season, right? But we saw some big returns of mine, and I want to cite your work that you've done on talking about when we have your top 11, your big 11 starting players that you would start if everyone's healthy. When you're getting more of those guys back, we're hoping that the correlation is there, that we're going to see positive trends. We're going to see this team improve in performance. And you saw Berkey and Kessler both return. Berkey at the start, Kessler coming off the bench. How do you feel about that, Mike? Let's just start with those two, getting them back, getting the minutes fresh.
I mean, I think it's monumental, right, to have Roman Berkey back. You have the league's best goalkeeper. And, I mean, Ben Lunt played fine. I'd say he probably played better than we expected him to play. But at the end of the day, he's like a 30-year-old backup goalkeeper in the MLS, right? The expectation isn't that great. I think you saw a lot of his limitations in like the 800 minutes we saw of him. Not very comfortable with the ball at his feet. He really has only one way to break a press, and it's just to kick it as far as he possibly can. Sometimes that goes 40 yards out of play. But then you saw Roman last night. There was one time the ball came back to him, and he just lackadaisically flicked it with the outside of his right foot like 3 separate times, just waiting for someone to come at him. And like that's just a comfort level that we haven't seen. And I think it's definitely needed in this team when you've got no Kessler, no Horn, just guys that can't really pass out of the back when you have the back line we did last night. So it's really good to see for Roman.
No, I agree. I almost needed a reminder. Not that I was like, oh, Lute needs to stay. And obviously, again, I'll give him his credit. He had a good, run on the team. And I'm thinking if I'm him, like you did your job. You got to come out into the limelight. You performed as people would expect, maybe slightly above, at least my expectations when he was coming in for that long of a stretch. But Berkey coming back, I agree. There was no hesitation when we won the ball last night. You could tell the guys had no problem, recycling it, getting it back to Berkey and kind of hitting reset there. And that was almost like the start of every attack that we had or every kind of possession that we had. It always started with him. And you just get reminded of how big of focal point he is, not just in defense and, guarding the net, but in letting us progress as well. So I fully 100% agree with you.
I think it's also, again, maybe just from where I'm sitting, being behind the south goal and being on that left-hand side, you kind of notice that Lunt had tendencies, and he was basically always to kick it to the right, whereas Roman Berkey is something that you don't really see ever in the modern days, have a goalkeeper that kicks it with both feet, about as equally with both feet, and he's willing to go either direction. And we always talk about how unbalanced City have been this year. And I think that definitely plays a role when you have a goalkeeper that can only kick it one direction. And now you have a goalkeeper that can kick it both directions. So it changes the formula.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree. Very jazzed to have him back. And I'll just take Kessler too. I know we've sung his praises on past recordings with you in the past. I think the two of them together will, I really hope so, right? Will make this team a lot more stable. Because right now it's not there. They also bring the footwork, right, in the passing ability. A lot of our back line and our goalie at that time with Lune didn't have. So I think getting those two back is, I think, like you said, paramount or just crucial. And I really hope, and I do think maybe we're getting closer to that threshold you drew, Mike, of when you get, what was it, 8,
8
plus starters into your 11, your money most of the time, or you have a good chance of the money.
Yeah, so we've played 13 games this season. We've played with 8 plus of the best 11 3 times. We have 7 points. We've played 10 games with less than that, and we don't have any wins. Right. We have, I think, 2 more draws in that. Like it's not even close. And I think for me, for Kessler, I'm curious where he's going to play.
Yeah,
if he's going to play in the central portion of that 3, or like I've been saying since day one, I would love to see him on the right.
Yep.
And he was incredible as the center in the 3, but I don't know. All of his passing metrics have really suffered being in the center, and I would just love to see him on the right. And just, I don't know if that really detracts from how good he's been defensively, because you're not doing as much sweeping when you're not in the middle.
Yep.
But I think this team desperately needs more consistent progression. And Henry Kessler, when he's on it, he's real close to being like U.S. men's national team level, I think.
Dude,
personally.
I agree. I mean, the start he was on the season, it's a shame he had to bow out like he did with that injury, but and also in training as well. It's just like
brutal. Just brutal.
But I think he'll step right back in. I even thought in his limited minutes last night, I just felt a level of comfortability knowing that he was back there, because he's an upgrade on every single defender that we has that started that match, like far and away. But tell me this, Mike. So other injuries that are still outstanding. Leuven not injured, but still, kind of in and out of the team right now at personal reasons. Back in training, not 100% fit. Who knows what's going to happen there? He probably hit that, key 11 that you would think about. Durkin in a similar boat said he could be available this weekend or Wednesday.
That'd be shocking.
Yeah,
I think shocking.
Blew me away, and I'm like, okay, well, is he actually though? Like we've done this before, and then the guy ended up on the bench. I mean, in the rehab room again for another couple of months. So like, let's maybe be smarter about this and not commit.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the Totland thing, probably, right? I mean, it's just, I can't imagine us allowing ourselves to go through that process again, right? Like, hey, you're good to warm up. You're not even playing. You're just on the sidelines, and now we don't even hear anything about him because he's so far away again. So, is Saturday or Sunday? I don't even know what day we play this week.
I think it is Saturday. Yeah,
is it that important that we have to force guys to be playing as quickly as possible?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Like, we're 13 games in, so we are getting to almost the halfway stage.
Yeah.
So kind of, but also I don't know how worth it is for a maximum of 3 points when you've got a lot more points to play for the rest of the season.
I'm following you. I wouldn't push on Durkin too much. I would just, whatever time you have Leuven, you want to see him there, because man, when he played in the US Open Cup, he was so rusty too.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, you got to find it just to get him back in rhythm as well, and that's going to take game time to do that. My bright side here, Mike, is I'm looking at the injury list because we haven't talked about Alm, who frankly I don't really care as much about right now either. I know that he's been injured forever. He's no longer carrying a designation, but he's in training with some restrictions. Horn, we heard, took a knock, so he'd have missed this last game in training. Who knows? They said they didn't think it was as bad as they thought it might have been. Who knows what that actually is?
That's awful language to use.
It is
awful. What did they think it was?
I had no idea.
Like a Lawrence Taylor, Joe Theismann, and it's not that? Like, I don't understand what we're doing here.
No, I agree. That one, I look at that. I look at Durkin, who's almost back, apparently. I look at Alm, who's almost back, apparently. Morales, they told us, was short-term with a groin strain. And then you have Toland, who is working out on the side, it sounds like right now, but not fully integrated into team training. And I'm saying, hey, give me, on the other side of Minnesota, we should be getting pretty close. A lot of guys are back in contention, maybe not 100% fit yet. But the big one I'm waiting on, obviously, we had Nilsson back as well on the bench. I didn't even mention him. So, I mean, you're getting there, right? And I think for me, this is when you can start to really, I feel like, start to analyze and grade Mellberg when he gets these injuries off his back and he can play an 11 that may not have great chemistry right now, but they make up most of the best players available.
Yeah, I mean, I think you say it perfectly, right?
Yes.
What are we working with here? I get my expectation. What is my expectation when we have half of our starting lineup in?
Yep.
And it happens game after game. We're like, you think we're going to win today? Like, why? Why do we think that? Like, it's not a different team than it was last week, or the week before that, or the week before that. The team that hasn't won in 2+ months now. So
I agree. I'm guilty. I'll raise my hand. I'm absolutely guilty of that sometimes. I mean, I just have obviously a crazy bias, and I'm optimistic and I want to see things, but nothing points you to make that conclusion, in the numbers, right? Like that's an important consideration.
Like we got Berkey back, but we lost Horn. So we're net zero.
Yep.
So it's a different team, but it's kind of the same team as far as quality is concerned.
Let's talk about the 11, Mike. Before we do from last night, I want to give a quick shout out to Mike, Eric, Alex, and Zach, and L, who also hi to us, and L won the $50 the pitch gift card. Congratulations, L. Thanks for telling us you love the pitch and meeting us there and having a couple. But shout out to you all. Thank you for all the listeners, but especially you all that made yourselves known to us, and we tried to chat for a bit. But 11, Mike. Obviously, we talked about all the injuries. Nothing was really different yesterday. We obviously got Berkey back. We saw Kessler make his appearance here and get back from rehabilitation. But looking at the 11, did anything stick out to you, Mike? Obviously, I know you and Justin were texting about Celio's role. Very interesting being deployed there. I don't think we saw that coming. We didn't project that, obviously.
No.
Ostrak, I was very happy about him being back there. I think he's slowly becoming more and more important game by game in this team, in the midfield, especially with Leuven being out. You saw Wallem again in midfield, Mike. I wanted to hear all your thoughts about how you felt about that, because the first game before that in midfield was not pretty.
I don't like him there. Apparently, a lot of people do like him there. Olaf likes him there. I do not like him there. I understand some people like his ability to receive on the half turn and kind of get by a guy and dribble, but I think Ostrak does that pretty well.
Yep.
That's probably more his bread and butter than expansive passing, to say the least.
Yep.
But he's never an option to receive the ball. He doesn't offer any passing range, and his passing that he does typically is not all that good. And I think with how reliant we are on the width, like his best position is out wide. So I think he has to play out wide.
Yeah.
And when he doesn't play out wide, you have to play Akil Watts out wide. And Sporting Kansas City beat Akil Watts last night.
Yep.
2-0. St. Louis City scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
But Akil Watts gave up 2 goals. So, yeah.
I'm with you.
Joey Zielinski, where you at? Conrad Wallem, where you at?
We're getting there, right? Zielinski got his debut, his MLS debut, and he got his Open Cup debut a week before that. But I'm feeling good about that. That shows me maybe he's being considered more now, which doesn't take an expert to make you consider him now.
How long do we have to keep watching this? We've seen Josh Yarrow play right wing back. Yep. We've seen Kyle Hebert play right wing back. We've seen Akil Watts play there. Why don't we play the right wing back at right wing back?
That'd be too easy. Why would we do that?
I just don't get it. It's frustrating. It really is.
My take on the Wallem situation is I don't want Watts there either. And I think the moment that Leuven and or Durkin return, Wallem is right back at left wing back. Like there's no discussions, ifs, ands, or buts. I think it's just like a trust thing, honestly, dude. I feel like Olaf wants to put a player that isn't afraid, to hold the ball, to get the ball, to be able to pass the ball better than most of his other peers. Like, I just feel like I know that he can do the thing. So maybe he'll do it better than anyone else that might actually play that position that we have available to us right now. But the moment we get back some depth there with Leuven and Durkin, I don't think he'll sniff the central midfield again.
I hope not. I mean, like you said, what are the other options? It's Watts or it's JGR.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean,
this experiment, this trying time.
Yeah.
Right. This trying time for me, I have come to realize, and I've always been a stan of his, Mike. Tomas Ostrak has really impressed me. I wish he were bigger, but
that is a struggle.
Yep,
definitely.
I wish he was bigger. He's going to be limited by that, right? In certain games, they can target him, they can kind of box him out of some matches. But when he gets on the ball, his range, his medium and long-term passing, incredible. He can also carry really well. He gets those late runs into the box. He had, almost like the double assist or the assist in the toy shirt goal last night, which was really a shot by him. They just took a deflection. But I think he's making the most of this time. And I can't say the same about a lot of other guys out here.
I totally agree. I think it'd be interesting to see when Leuven's back, if Leuven's back and some other guys get back, if we kind of opt for that third body midfield that we've seen a little bit with Baumgartel or with a wing back kind of playing up. If we were to play Leuven and Ostrak alongside someone more defensive, whether that be Morales or Durkin, because then you kind of get Leuven, who's much more stationary but really expansive in his passing, and Ostrak, who's definitely looking to dribble more than he is to pass. And that's not a profile that we really have. We have some passers, but we don't really have any dribblers in the center of the park. So I think that would be kind of interesting, but that then means you're completely reliant upon wing backs. So, we're kind of back to square one then.
Yes, we are.
It's just something that I think it would be kind of interesting to see.
Let's talk about the new left wing back, Mike. Celio Pompeo made his. Now I would call it. He was not a tried and true by the book left wing back last night. They gave him a lot of cover. He did do more tracking back than he would do if he was more advanced forward, but he was not playing that to the same tune as like a Wallem would or a Totland would. So I do want to say that. But talk me through. Did you have a good perspective, Mike, on that goal yesterday? Because that to me was the stuff of we've been clamoring for all season, where we can just take our chances. May not be the best in the world. That was, I think, a .03 XG I saw, at least on that shot that he had. But he's done things like that before in MLS matches. It doesn't surprise me, but the quality on that strike and the earliness of that goal at home. What was your take on Celio's goal?
It was a cross. I think it's very clearly it was a cross, just by the way he shaped up. And you could see kind of there was a runner. I don't know if it was Klaus or if it was Seti. And they were kind of running to that far post, and it just looked like he overhit it, and he overhit it fantastically. But yeah, I'm totally convinced that was a cross. But you know what? A cross that goes into the net counts the same as a screamer that goes into the net. So I don't really care. But
no, I agree.
It was great. It was great to be up 1-0, and Celio loves a banger against Kansas City.
He does indeed, and I want to also clarify too. I saw some people talking about, obviously we've been a team that's really struggled to get a full 90 performance and a complete holistic end-to-end performance where we're continuous, where we're not dropping off. There's no ebbs and flows. This game, to me, and this half specifically, people might have looked at it a little more favorably because of the 2-0 deficit that we put on KC, but I wasn't impressed, frankly. I thought that KC, they kind of fluffed their lines a lot in the first half. They had missed a couple golden chances, maybe not golden, but good chances. And we were blocking the hell out of those shots. We had 6 in the first half, a couple big blocks, even one in the very beginning. So what was your take on the first half overall before we talk about the second goal here, Mike? Because I think it's revisionist history to go back and look at that like as if it was one of our better halves, because the scoreline might say something, but if you were there, I don't think you'd think the same.
I think it was one of our worst halves that we've played, but we were up 2-0. It's the process of a results argument that we could have to the end of time. But I think we talked about this on Twitter, X, Blue Sky, the Discord that I'm a part of. I was trying to find the word for it's positive regression, which is progression, because we've vastly underperformed our XG so far this year. So at some point you're due, as my dad would say,
right? And
things have to go in the net. And I think we saw 2 of those, and we really needed those. So that's how we ended up 2-0. And then, the second half happened. But I don't think we really played well at all for 90 minutes. I think it was fairly lackluster. I think we've played a lot better and lost, which is just kind of how the sport goes, which is frustrating.
It is sad. But no, I would agree with you. And I would say before we move on to the second half, that goal, obviously – I thought it was, when you look back at it, the way that it was scored, not pretty, but again, you'll take them how you can get them, especially at this point in the season with how much we've underperformed. But it started with us in the back. We were in possession, our own third. Wallem dropped back for this ball and scooped it over the top to Klaus, who I think he was just trying to do a nice little header down. It smoked him in the face, but perfectly onto Hartel's boot, who was, didn't even break stride. He just got it right there, got it out to Celio, who kind of delayed for Ostrak to make a late run into that space that, the defenders were attracted to Celio on. And Ostrak, takes his touch. I don't even think he touched the ball before shooting it on the fly, takes a shot right into Toykert's path. And this one deflects, ugly, but it's going into halftime. In a lot of other matches, you might have thought that, hey, that is a gut punch if you are Sporting. Obviously, we know it didn't prove out to be, but what did you think about the buildup that actually led to that goal as well?
I thought it was good. We don't create chances like that very often. A lot of our stuff still ends up being kind of fluky at times, it feels. So it was kind of good to see progression all the way up the field, resulting in a Seti goal that he desperately needed, even though he didn't try to do whatsoever. But I think it's kind of gets glossed over because we went into it 2-0, but was it a minute after that Yarrow gets turned and Berkey makes a huge save?
Yep.
And I think it was the single best XG chance the entire evening.
Yep.
Was that save?
That's right.
2-1 there. It's totally different. And that's
100%.
Roman Berkey. It's having Roman Berkey right there, but it's also another it's also another highlight of the right side of the defense stinking again and again and again.
I agree. People that want to hear the numbers, right? We got we got the data, we got the numbers here. The first half, we had 0.25 XG, but 2 goals to show for it. That's massive overperformance of what you generated. Sporting had 0.88 to our 0.25 in the first half. Look at the second. We actually had an expected goal of 1.04 in the second, but 0 goals to show for it to their 0.6, but they had 2 goals to show for it. So we seized our chances in the first half. They seized theirs in the second.
Yeah, it's just that's how soccer goes. It's infuriating. It's a beautiful sport, and it's an awful sport at the same time.
It is. It is.
Like the best team in basketball wins almost every time because they're making more shots.
Right.
In soccer, the best team might not make their one shot and lose.
Yep.
I had Kansas City last week won with no shots.
Unreal, dude.
Like, that's the worst team, and they won the game.
Unreal.
It just happens.
Unreal. No, we talked about Berkey. He ended the half for us, made a huge save, like you mentioned. He made another one about 10 minutes into the second half. But I made this note, Mike. It was the 54th minute. Again, a big stop. They had a little 1-2 sent back through to Joveljic, who was a thorn on our side all night, and he was in the first match as well. People remember that. But Berkey was equal to it. And that kind of 1-2 or those quick, tidy touches in and around the box were destroying us all second half and maybe even all the first half as well, because that's how they got that first goal. They also generated some great chances that weren't in the back of the net. But what do you attribute some of that to, Mike? Because I look back at this, we're on the show ball watching. It is that, like, the definition. You got three, central. You have 3 center backs back there. You have your wing backs kind of packed in. You might have a central midfielder sitting in there as well. But we have the numbers. The fact that we can't, have an eye on the ball, but also the shirt or the body of the man that you're defending and kind of being positionally aware of where he is and where he might go. It just was lapses in defending. Watts got blown up on the goal that we conceded, their first goal, Sporting's goal in the 70th minute. And it's not complex stuff. That's when people get frustrated. It's like if they earned it, they scored a screamer from somewhere, or they just beat us, just absolutely dunced us with some great play, which they did in the 70th minute. But we also shoot ourselves in the foot by what we give to these teams. And you cannot do it what Akil Watts did.
And I think it's worse talking about Joveljic. Statistically, so far, he is the single worst player in Major League Soccer amongst qualified players with 450 minutes played. No, you didn't mishear me. The worst player in Major League Soccer. His net G plus is in the 0 percentile. Wow. 0. And after the game, they talked about how he would love to play St. Louis every week because it would make his job that much easier. The worst player in Major League Soccer. Like, dude. Did they do anything down our left-hand side the entire game?
No.
I didn't get the chance to watch the replay today.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
But down the right-hand side, they sure had a lot of fun. And
they did.
I'm at the point where I'd almost take a current age, current fitness Olaf Melberg at center back in Birkenstocks. I can't do it anymore. I can't watch it every week.
It's tough. And I get people that have that opinion. I get it, right? It's frankly, it's mistakes that are below this level, right? Like you expect professionals that train every day, that this is their job, this is their life, to have that one, maybe, hey, Mike, I'll give you this one game, I'll allow a mistake like that. One game, there's a big mistake, we get it out of the way, we move on. But it's that these keep happening, and it's the same people that it keeps happening to. And I get they're not supposed to be there in the first place, they are depth, but like your depth also shouldn't allow that either. And I think you made that point today, is like we've made some reinforcements, some improvements to the roster over time, but not enough. And our depth is not up to snuff either.
Correct. Yeah. I remember talking about it before the season started. We're like, wow, this is the deepest team we've ever had. And I stand by that. I think this is easily the deepest team City have had in the 3 years of our existence.
Yep.
And then you see what the depth does, and you're like, whoa, we're still nowhere close.
Yeah.
And no, I understand there are MLS roster rule restrictions. You can only have 20 senior players. That means at a maximum, you have 9 backups for 11 positions. That's how the math works. And you have to rely on supplemental players. But we're relying on so many supplemental players, but the other supplemental players don't even play. And our best out of our 20 seniors, we have 12, 13, 14 out of the 20 at any given time. Like, it's just, there hasn't been enough turnover from that initial team, I think.
Yep.
Because I think a lot of the stuff that we've brought in the past few years as far as players has been pretty good. I mean, Betcher is on an incredible deal. Teuscher, Hartle, Zonde Silva looks really promising and like something we've really needed for a long time. Totland, Vollum on a loan, Horn. Like, I think all of those guys would easily play in the 2023 team, but it's the guys that are still here from the 2023 team for me, and they're the guys that have to play every week because these guys we brought in aren't fit and they're just not up to snuff as far as I'm concerned.
No, I'm with you, and I don't want to talk about it, but I'll just mention the last goal, the equalizer that was put forth in the 77th minute. We were waiting on getting Kessler and Zielinski into the game, and they're standing at the line trying to get in. There's a deep free kick that, you know, people sometimes whip it in. They might do more loft. This was just driven to the back post where I don't know what we were thinking, but a lot of our shortest guys were on the back post with a couple of Sporting KC attackers. And the only person that thought or tried, really tried to rise up to meet that ball and win it was Joveljic. And he does it, rises up over, I think it was Betcher. Watts also in the mix there, didn't get up for it either. And he
did the opposite. We need to talk about that. Watts did the opposite of going up for it.
Yep.
He just kept floating backwards and didn't even jump. Like, Betcher didn't do a lot, but Betcher at least put a little bit of effort in.
Yeah.
Watts just he just floated beyond the play, didn't challenge, because Joveljic was right on his back shoulder.
Yep.
And how Joveljic meets the ball and Watts is 5 yards from where the ball makes contact with Joveljic's head is unacceptable.
Yeah, because that to me is an effort play, right? It's like we're not saying, hey, Watts, we're not saying you should out jump Joveljic there. We're not saying that. If you can, great. Yeah. But if you can't, put him off. Don't let him get a clean look at the goal.
Elbows, shoulders, anything.
Yep.
You have to do anything.
Yep.
It's a free kick 8 yards from your own goal. Yep. You have to just do anything you can. And the answer is never do nothing.
Right. I would agree. No, I'm following there. It's, again, frustrating because, again, these are just mistakes. These aren't. Yeah. I digress for a couple seconds there.
I think we have to keep talking about it, honestly. Like, people talked about, like, coaching. You have to do that. I'm like, we had 3 guys on 2 guys. First off, the coach is, 80 yards away? Yeah. They can't hear him to begin with because kudos to the St. Louis City fans. Like, everyone says, as far as MLS is concerned, we're a pretty loud place to play. There's no way that they can hear anything that we're doing, maybe a couple hand gestures here and there. But that is not enough. Like, you are a professional soccer player. You have to be able to count one. You have him. I have him. Okay, this guy's unmarked. We have to be careful about this guy. And none of that occurred. And there's some really experienced players out there. It's not acceptable.
You got to rise to the occasion too. I keep targeting the mental side of this. Is like, also think about where we're at here. It's 2-1. Momentum's on their side. They feel like they can get back in this game. You've got a set piece. You never want to concede set piece goals, right? It's just cheap. Teams are going to make you pay when you afford them enough opportunities in that way. And to me, I agree with you. We have too much experience back there. Too many guys that have been there, done that, to be just outright losing these, like, without challenging for them in the first place. And if you keep that up, you're going to be in a dark, dark place. I mean, you cannot become a team that gets bullied around. We have a bunch of big dudes in the back. Yeah. Like, why can't we get up and win that header? And I feel like, frankly, Mike, it's also reflecting on the attacking side as well. I just feel like there's a general, I don't know what it is, man, but I feel like we are not hungry enough on either side of the pitch, defensively and in the attacking phases. I mean, you scored a goal off the corner kick from Celio. It was a clearance, but I don't think I saw any guy get up and rise and meet a header on a corner kick or a free kick and nod that on goal during last night. And I just feel like we should be beyond that. We should show, especially at home, you know what I mean? Like, that we are hungry. We want to get the third goal, because God knows you get the third one, that game's over. It's dead. But again, they look hungrier. The opposition looks hungrier at our home.
It feels like our team is just playing nervous for 90 minutes. Like, what's going to go wrong now? Like, oh boy, this one thing happened. What's going to go wrong now? And it just feels like we just play the entire game like that. And it's totally mental, because physically, a lot of these guys are good enough to play at this level, play at a level beyond this. And mentally, it's a war zone for these guys right now. And I feel bad for them, but like the only person who's going to get at it is themselves. They have to get themselves out of it. Like there's no other way to do it. It stinks. I hate to be in this position, and that's where we are.
Who stood out to you, Mike, of the subs before we move into big stories and then into Minnesota? Who stood out for you? You know, who brought some fresh blood, some fresh energy that stood out to you? Because you already mentioned him, but Silva for me was a needle mover. Got in the game, made an impact, and it's not where I thought he would. He's playing more centrally, where he can turn really well on the ball and he can get on the ball and glide. Like it doesn't look like he's working that hard. He can glide past guys. He did give away, something cheap in the San Diego game. And I think hopefully he learns from that. But I didn't expect his on-the-ball presence, not being isolated at 1v1, to be as good as it is. I feel like he's very composed.
Yeah, he's really comfortable. You can see that. As you said, he definitely glides through the middle of the pitch. And again, I mean, that's not his fault that he has to play there, right? It's the fact that we don't have a center midfielder even on the bench so we can sub in. So who's going to play there? Jande, I guess you're going in, pal. Yeah. That's what it feels like they've done the past couple of weeks.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he cost us that goal last week, but he wasn't the only person that cost it, but he was the original perpetrator of the costing of the goal. But yeah, he's been impressive. I don't think Zielinski was fantastic, but I think the bar is so incredibly low for what we expect from the right wing back position that he whipped in one decent ball, didn't make a catastrophic error, and we're like, I want to see Zielinski until Tottenham's back. I don't want to see anyone else there. Like, that's where we're at.
Yep.
So for me, that's who I want to see. I want to see Zielinski more. I want to see Jande playing his position, which would mean that we're healthier. So kind of a double whammy. But those two guys are the guys that I was looking out for.
Yep. I'm on the same boat. We already talked about Kessler, so we'll save that one. But stories of the game for me, before we get into some bigger topics we can chat about here, is we already said it before. KC had two big chances, like two quantified big chances, because those are measured, right? And they had 2 goals for those 2 big chances. We had 2 big chances. And you might say, well, Jake, we scored those. No, we didn't. Those are both in the second half. We didn't score any goals. So you talk about a team that's clinical, that's finishing. That was Sporting on the night, and that's why we end up not being able to kill that game. We should have had a third plenty of times in that second half, and we did not add to it. We talked about the second half, whether it's mentality, whether it's coaching, whether it's players just not playing up to their potential or just kind of shying away from those hard moments. It's embarrassing, man. We've conceded 8 goals against in the 70-plus minute mark in our last 4 games played. I'm not an expert, but I can tell you, you're not going to win many games if you keep doing that.
Yeah, you're right? Like, you don't even need to look at anything to determine that you're totally correct. Is that because our team has been so injured that the players that are playing are just running to the ground and they can't do it for 98 minutes anymore? It's probably a factor.
Yeah.
Probably not the only factor, but definitely a factor. I mean, what is Josh Yaro going to play 360 minutes in the next 9 days? Yeah. It's like, who else is going to play there?
Yeah, because now you have depth guys starting there, and now you've got depth guys that are tired that are starting there. Like, I couldn't think of a worse combination.
And then you bring on subs of subs.
Yeah.
Like, the expectation. Yeah, it's just bad.
It is.
And again, you can't blame Yaro, Hebert, Watts, whomever for being fit and available. Like, that's not their fault that they're like, hey, I'm healthy, I can play. But then you get this where they just get run into the ground, and the second half goals conceded is just really bad because what have we given up, like 1 goal in the first half in the last however many games? That means that when we start the game out, we know what we're doing. We know how to not concede goals, and then at some point that goes away. Is that because the other team's making more offensive adjustments and we're making defensive adjustments? Are we getting tired? Yes. Right? Yes.
Yep. I've got a phrase for you here, Mike, that I think encapsulates a little bit of this team right now. I'm going to put a graphic about this out here soon. But here it is for you. This team collapses under pressure, and it's twofold. Both when they're chasing the game and when they're leading the game. You've got the worst of both worlds here, and I'll quantify that for you because I know you like that here, Mike. But booze the final whistle ring out. I get it because we have dropped another 2 points from winning position. Look at the season so far. We've dropped 10 points from winning positions over 13 games played. 3 against Columbus, 2 against LAFC, 3 against Seattle, 2 against Sporting now. And to make that even more fun, on the inverse, we have yet to gain a single point from a losing position. We've only scored 1 goal when we've been down in a game so far this season. So it's just like, where is the bright side in terms of game management, where it's the players, where it's the coaching? Because we don't seem to be able to hold a lead, and we can't come back if we get led on. So it's just like, this team has to find that. Like, you got to improve at least one of those two. You won't go anywhere if you can't hold a lead and you can't, surmount or equalize when you're losing in a match. You won't go anywhere. So I cannot believe it. But yeah, that's the numbers behind it. We have not gained a single point from losing positions so far this season, and we've dropped 10 through 13 games played.
That's more points we have on the season.
Yeah. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
I hate that stat. I'll be honest. Data guy, and I hate that.
Yeah.
I saw that. I think you posted that earlier.
Yeah.
That's awful.
It's brutal.
It's there's nothing else you got to say. That's awful.
So, Mike, the golden question. Everyone's asking, everyone's talking about it on X, on Instagram, wherever you talk about city stuff, on your Substack. Who's to blame for this? A lot of people, I've seen a lot of hashtag Olaf out, hashtag Lutz out, bring Carnell back. I've seen everything under the sun in these last probably 24 hours, and a lot more even before that, because this isn't new. Where do you, Mike, shift the blame? Because frankly, I'll just give myself, I shifted around plenty. Players need to take responsibility. Olaf, I think, has some responsibility as well. People want to put it on Diego as well. Obviously, people put Diego, and I think, Mike, you put that the news clip out there of, we will make the playoffs beginning of the season. Where do you look for? Where does the buck stop in your head?
I mean, that's a great question, right? I think the only person not to blame is Roman Berkey, and every other member of the staff can take some portion of the blame.
Yep.
That's where I'm at. I mean, there's no question that Olaf has underperformed, underdelivered, whatever you say.
Yep.
I think it's also, if you want to disregard the injuries, I think that's wrong, because, again, who's getting more of a tune out of Josh Arrow and Akil Watts?
Yeah, fair enough.
It doesn't matter who's coaching them. They will stink regardless. That's just the be-all, end-all. But he's not without blame. We've already talked about the failure to upgrade on guys like that. That falls on Lutz. Falls on Lutz's team. And, the guy that is in charge of it all, who has final say on all decisions, because he's the president and the GM, right?
Yep.
Has less than a 27% win percentage since he joined. It was over 50% before he joined.
Yep.
Obviously, there's a lot of other factors in that. The fact
of course.
that we plummeted our form. But, if you were to say we're going to fire Olaf, I'd be like, I get it. If you're going to say we're going to fire Lutz, I'd get it. If you're going to say we're going to fire Diego, I'd get it. That's bad. If you say we're going to fire all three of them, I'd get it.
Yeah. That's where that's an important point to make, Mike, because I think that's where I am. And I want to press you on what, if anything, you would do in the near term. But before you do that, I want to say that, again, I would spread the blame out really anywhere here. But anyone that says it's this guy or that guy, or it's the team and it's not the coaching, but it's not Lutz, it is everyone. Yeah. Everyone is not hitting the mark here. So no one is absolved of this besides Berkey. We can absolve Berkey. Yeah, but no one is absolved.
Leuven as well. We'll absolve Leuven as well.
Fine. I'll get
he deserves it. He deserves the absolution. Yeah.
That's what I want to get through here is anyone that's putting out, content or saying that it's this person and this is why, you're wrong. Yeah. There's a double edge to every one of those answers. Yeah. And I think that's what we need to get through our skulls now is it's not just one thing. If you fire Olaf, I don't think you just turn the ship around. There are still going to be things that are festering past that. So, Mike, is there anything if you were Diego, if you were Carolyn, up at the leadership helm here, would you be hitting the panic button and making some sort of aggressive change at this point?
No, because I don't know what you would do.
Yep.
Okay, it's not a transfer window, so we can't bring in reinforcements. The season's not over for the rest of the world, basically. So you're not really going to bring in a coach. And if you do bring in a coach, he's going to immediately want a transfer window. He's not going to suffer for a month and a half. You could maybe get him in June or July when the window opens.
Yep.
and firing a GM like Diego or firing his Lutz, who does all the roster building, apparently.
Yep.
I mean, that's a bigger overhaul than firing Olaf or exchanging players, right? You're changing possibly everything, philosophy, scheme, whatever you want to. It's crazy. And I think that we've really taken a short-sighted approach to this because I see, same thing people talk about. Well, Bradley Cardinale's having a great start to Philadelphia. He's a better coach than Olaf.
Yeah.
No. I don't think we remember what happened. First off, Bradley Cardinale is, from all accounts, not a good person. He made the locker room hate him.
Yep.
That's a problem. His team sucked for like a year and a half. That's a problem. His expected points per game, I'm looking at it right now, was 1.13 points per game in 56 games with City. That is still less than Olaf's expected points per game of 1.17. Like, that's how bad it was. And don't even get me started on everyone's savior, John Hackworth, who I thought he was fun in vibes, and I was very much in the Cardinale out, Hackworth in when it happened, because I think we needed a vibe change, and we got the vibe change.
Yeah.
Hackworth's expected points per game was 0.71. It was, and people were like, oh, we scored goals. Yeah, we also conceded goals like you cannot believe.
A buttload.
How have we forgotten this? It's only May. We stopped playing 8 months ago.
I think I know why, man. It's recency bias. And I think this game, maybe more than any professional sport, and I'm going to be biased, is built on recency bias. What have you done for me lately? It's ruthless out there. I mean, coaches, it's a carousel. But I will say, Mike, I kind of worked this into the question before, maybe we've kind of brushed already. I'm not ready to write the season off yet. People are, asking, why are we still showing up, going down to rival 2-0, it's not good enough, all this. And by the way, I can understand a lot of these opinions, but why do we still show up mixed with, is it too late in your mind? Do you want to take that, Mike?
No, it's not too late. What are we, 4 points out of the playoffs?
Yeah. 5. Yeah.
You have to remember that the MLS format for the playoffs is so ludicrous that if you basically have a heartbeat, you make the playoffs. We don't have a heartbeat right now, so we will not make the playoffs. But half our team has been injured for most of the season. So I think you have a runway here where you can make the playoffs.
Yep.
We don't have to go on a 10-game winning streak to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of not great teams in Major League Soccer. There's a couple of really good teams. We played a lot of them in a short time period, and we're like, wow, those teams are a lot better than us. But everyone else, San Diego's the fourth best team in the West?
Yeah.
How much better were they than us in the 2 games we played them this year?
In the first half, not.
Right? We outplayed San Diego the entire game.
Yep.
Last week. We got outplayed in San Diego. We outplayed them there. And they're 10 positions higher than us in the table.
They're second, by the way, Mike. They're second right now.
Yeah. The parity it's insane. I don't think you can press the panic button, but pretty soon we will be pressing the panic button if things don't change when the players come back.
So final question on this, Mike, before I break a little bit into Minnesota for us here. We got a great question from a loyal listener, Justin Graham. And he had this to say: what is the leash length on Mellberg? I personally used to kind of be on if he got knocked out in the U.S. Open Cup in this Union Omaha game and then proceeded to lose to Sporting KC, he might be on the hot seat. And it's not because I think that's what it should be. It's because there's still a lot of season left, and maybe you can bring someone in that can steady this thing and get more out of the players, bring vibes that are better back, like a Hack type lift. But what do you think? Because I kind of now shift my goalpost to, you give him the summer, up right into the transfer window opening. And if you haven't seen marked incremental improvement on this, I think you might hit cancel on this and let him go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we still stink by July 1, right, he's just got to go. There's just no question.
Yep.
But I think my original timeline was we got to give him till the end of May to see as players come back. That was kind of my original thing. But at this point, after, we talked about earlier on about the number of best 11 they're playing, until I can see a game with 8 out of 11, or 2 games with 8 out of 11, so I can actually get like a feeler of, are we any good, or we just stink and those early results were an outlier? So like, it's so hard to judge a guy who's had half the team that he wants.
Yeah.
I understand why people are judging him. I don't like, you want to see winning soccer, and I want to see winning soccer too. Like, I don't blame you for wanting to get rid of Olaf Melberg. I think he hasn't been given the chance that he had hoped, the chance that we had hoped we were giving him.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's better out there. Like,
fair. And like
the better is like, the grass is not always greener.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be worse.
Could be. And the only other thing I'll add to that, Mike, is I think part of that also, the short leash people give him socially on social media, is there seems to be a connection people are drawing with injuries being linked to him as well. All these ones that are popping up in training, we've heard Taylor Twellman say that your best friend say that, they train 11v11 the day before matches, which is obscene. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Maybe is that part of it, which is why people are trying to be harder on him. Like, I think if he got fired, it would be pretty hard done, right? Like, you basically got to fight this season with like a hand tied behind your back.
But if he got fired, you'd understand it at the same time.
You would, yeah. I get
that's where we're at, right?
Yep. So it's a double-edged sword, man. But I want to say, quick pause on the show while we give a special message from our sponsors, Hoffman Brothers. Guys, it is almost summer. It is, dude, I was walking outside today, Mike. I don't know about you. I try to get some steps in during the day, but it was piping out there today.
Yeah.
And I'm just lucky because I got a home protection plan from Hoffman Brothers and I got my AC all tuned up. We're good to go on the main floor. This thing is working overtime for me as we're now starting to scrape the 90s, and it will be all summer long. So make sure you have any doubts in your mind, in your home, give Hoffman Brothers a call, have them come out, tune this baby up. If you need any help or support, they're more than happy to work through that process with you, kind of educate you along the way. So couldn't recommend that any more than I am right now. But if you're interested at all, give Hoffman Brothers a call at 314-664-3011 or visit them online at hoffmanbros.com. Mike, turn the page. We're now on to Minnesota for a 2 away leg series, right? Our first one being MLS, second being US Open Cup midweek there. Do you have any initial kind of inklings or feelings? Do you think the team flies to Minnesota? We respond. Do you think they maybe, scale back the 11 for that match in the weekend to prioritize US Open Cup? How are you feeling heading into a fresh week of games where we feature 2 against the same team?
That's a really good question. And before I answer it, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Which game do you care about more?
Frankly, I want to see us prioritize MLS. I think US Open Cup's great, and I would love to go far in it. And I don't think we just roll out the kids, right? And we won't. But
you can't, right? With the rules, you just can't do all those.
We need to start fighting in this season that we're in. And I don't think you just pin your hopes. Like, if we have a crappy season in MLS, but we somehow just skank our way to the US Open Cup, I'd rather be more balanced in our approach. So, like, people are saying that, hey, rest the guys on Saturday, play them all on Wednesday. What if we lose that game? Then you just lost 2 in a row, probably in a very embarrassing fashion. That's my take.
First off, who are we resting that's really good? That's going to make the difference if we rest them.
Yeah.
Because, the team has stunk for 2 months now.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know. I don't think you can prioritize the Open Cup. It's the Open Cup as much as we want to talk about. We love the Open Cup, and it's great that we have the Open Cup. I think we should clarify that. It is much better than not having the Open Cup. I'm pro Open Cup, but at the same time, I don't care nearly as much about the Open Cup as I do about being good in the league, because the league is the barometer of success, right?
Absolutely.
I think, I know St. Louis has a great history of the U.S. Open Cup, but it's just, that's not where we're at today. I think the MLS is where we need to be. That's where the entire ownership group, all the people in charge said, right, we're making the playoffs.
Right.
And at some point you have to start winning games. And
yeah,
are we going to win either game?
So history says no, right?
Yeah, right.
We're 1-3 win-loss against them, scoring only 4 goals and allowing 9, 7 of those coming last year. This is our first game against them, obviously, this year. So we're going to play them at home later on in the season. But they're a good team. They're playing a very specific style of play that we'll talk about here, but they're third in the West right now on 22 points, 6-3-4 win-loss draw, 19 goals for, 13 against with a +6 goal differential. And a couple big results for them at home were a draw with the Galaxy, which you look back on now, you're like, ooh, woof. Obviously, we got the W there away at Galaxy. They did lose to Vancouver, who is just having a magical run of a season.
Unless they play us.
Yep.
Our ironclad defense.
That's right. We gave them that's the other thing I'm going to say, too. And let me save it. Yeah. They did beat Miami 4-1. Beckham was not happy about it, getting in the comments after that because they called them a pink phony club, which is actually pretty funny. Really I'll give them that.
Missouri's own right there, Chappelle Roan, pink phony club is good. Yeah.
And this wasn't at home, but the most recent match they lost 2-0 in Houston last night, and what did not look like a great game. This is also a team, Mike, that will look similarly in defensive setup in terms of numerical. Right, they're doing about a 5-3-2 in defense and a 3-4-3 in attack. So they are going to play more numbers in the back. They're not going to be as high pressing as we've seen recently from some other teams like San Diego. But they're going to be very, very organized, very, very stingy. They've allowed the 4th lowest expected goals against per 90 this season in MLS, bottom 10 in shots on target allowed. And they have 6 clean sheets this season, the most in MLS. Mike, does any of that stick out to you as something that you're a little scared of, knowing how this offense has been for us recently?
Not as much, because we just create offense so strangely that a lot of those like standard metrics I feel like almost don't apply to us because we don't have like a set way of breaking them down. So they don't have like a set way of setting up against it.
Right.
But I think definitely with the 5, we're going to need more bodies in the middle of the park, especially with our proclivity to only crossing the ball right now. It seems like I wouldn't be surprised if we see Betcher Klaus together, possibly, just to get another body. I would love to see Klaus and Jande paired up, maybe with Toy Shirt also in there. Do something crazy just to get some bodies in the middle of the box and try to score some goals. But I don't know. I think it'll be really interesting to see. And I think, it's fitness too, right? Like we're going to play who's fit to go 60, 75 minutes. And we'll see if we prioritize one of the two. I don't think we should, but we'll see if Olaf does. Maybe there's been direction from above, like, hey, we need to really focus on the MLS, or hey, we need to really focus on the Open Cup. We don't know those conversations if they happen. So who knows?
One thing that definitely rung my bell when I was looking at this team, Mike, was the counter threat, the long balls, the long through balls they have. They're dead last in progressive passes and carries.
Yeah.
They had the fewest passes total in the MLS, and they have the shortest average distance per shot. So they get down the field extremely quickly, and they usually shoot from very close range.
Yeah.
And they're getting those chances. They're producing goals. Their points, show that. So that gives me a little bit of a shiver, knowing that our rest defense, when we are caught in transition, we don't have time to get set up, especially late on in the game, we look vulnerable. We look like deer in headlights out there, and they're going to apply that same exact style as they play against us. So that's one thing to really look out for, man, is they've got some speed up top, and they're not going to mess around with the ball. They're going to get it north-south as soon as possible.
Yeah, I went to that season finale last year in Minnesota when, I don't know if it feels like that was so long ago, when Jung Sang Bin came on and just absolutely terrorized us. Like he got out of the field and he ran with the ball. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen someone this fast ever play for City. And I probably still haven't seen anyone that fast ever play for City. And I mean, the good thing is we have no recent history of center backs messing up long aerial balls that result in goals.
Yep.
We have not had any of that in St. Louis history in the last 8 days.
Yep.
Yeah. So it'll probably go swimmingly. We need to, and holding onto the ball doesn't even help because they don't need the ball. They just need to kick it and run past us. This is a Henry Kessler game.
Absolutely.
To a T.
Yep.
Great ball reader, great sweeper, big dude. This would be perfect for him. So
100%. We're going to see it in the starting 11. We'll talk about it. But I mentioned their forwards. They've got Tani Oluwaseyi, who's got 5 goals, 4 assists this season already, tied for 10 in shots on target in MLS. And he's top 25 or actually, no, he's 8th best in MLS on his own creating XG right now. So he's a great striker. Kelvin Yeboah, similar, his striking partner, 4 goals, creating an XG of 7.1, ninth best in MLS. So these two together are like a 2-man wrecking crew. They may not start together, but if they don't, one's coming off the bench. Absolutely. They've got a midfielder by the name of Pereira, as a 26-year-old Argentinian DP for them. Came middle of the season last season. And then this season, he's off to a hell of a start with 1 goal, 4 assists, highest rated player for them on FotMob all season, top 10 in key passes. So he's got that final ball in his locker. They're going to be missing some guys, though, Mike. No one that I scream and say that, oh, I'm so happy about that. But Marcanic is on Minnesota. He will not be featuring in this match, but he did just score recently. They also have Kip Keller, St. Louis native. Obviously, like to make a shout out for Kip, made famous by the Austin FC blunder, which will live on in our minds and hearts from the opening match ever for City. But let's talk about the 11 here, Mike. I'm going to play our video here. Get your thoughts together, and we can jump into what we think is going to be the 11 that Olaf winds up and puts out in Minnesota. So, Mike, I don't know if you see what I have here. I think you're going to like what I have, but if you don't see it, I'm going to give you the chance to give us, and again, don't pick the Mike 11. Pick what you think Olaf will do for this 11. And maybe you can fold in some Mike insights as well.
Roman Berkey.
Yeah.
I think I got that one down.
Yep.
Are we going to see Akil Watts? I think we will. I don't want to, but I think we will.
Yep.
Hebert. I think Kessler.
Yep.
Kessler's
100%. I think he'll start.
Kessler's going to play.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to play the whole game. Whether that be, I'm assuming that means Yara will probably come in for him. So Kessler and Baumgartel. Maybe you play Kyle Hebert at left center back.
Yep.
Timo at center back, and Kessler on the right.
That's
interesting.
Exactly what I had in my back three as a prediction.
Left wing back.
Yep. So
midfield is so hard.
My one thing I would say, Mike, is now if you or I are making 11, I might have a case here again. I have a proposition on the whole Nilsson situation. If he's ever around and he's not wrapped up in something, go into the game. Especially in a game where they're going aerial, they're going high, they're going long. Nilsson, if you gave me the chance here, you gave me the 11, if everyone's, healthy enough to go for this game, I would say that you'd put Kessler on the right, Nilsson in the middle, and Horn on the left of that center back trio. We're not going to expect Horn, so I'll be realistic and say probably Hebert there. But I would love to have Nilsson and Kessler as the center and the right center back in this match. I think that's realistic.
I don't think at this point you can try to coddle Nilsson to bring him back from injury. I think if he's fit, he plays.
Yep.
Because if he's not fit, he'll be injured, right? And if he's fit, he'll still be injured. So I love Nilsson. I think he's my first ever City kit with a name on it will forever be Nilsson. But if he's not on the injury list, he should just play because he'll be on it shortly after that.
Midfield, Mike, walk us through. You gave us the wingbacks. You gave us Wallum. You gave us Watts. Who you think he'll go with?
Ostrak.
What are you going to do in the middle?
Ostrak.
Okay.
This one's tough. I think it's going to be Hartl. Ostrak and Hartl, which is, from a physical standpoint, is a disaster.
Yep.
Right? It's taking the Hobbits to Isengard type of midfield. That's just, but I think he might do that because we need to score goals. And then Celio, Simon, Klaus.
Okay. So definitely some changes in the front, especially. So you said Celio, Silva, Klaus?
Betcher, sorry. Simon
Betcher,
was originally put Betcher,
So no Silva starting.
No. I just don't know if he has the fitness to start.
Yeah,
he didn't really play a lot for Atlanta, and he's playing sub minutes for us. So I just don't know if he's got the fitness.
I'm with you. I like the Betcher idea because again, everyone was saying Betcher needs to start over Klaus for every match early in the season, and now I think we're kind of realizing that. And I'm not crapping on Betcher, but Betcher's had that chance like he had last night, probably 4 of other 5 times this season, and has failed to score in those moments. And I'm not going to say that he's not a finisher or that he's not, good enough to do that, but I don't think he's necessarily earning the spot over Klaus. I think maybe here you can see what they can do together because obviously they're very different players, Klaus and Betcher. And if you can get Celio, who's again, a totally different profile to those two in there. You've got three very different attackers that offer you three very different things.
Yeah, Betcher's definitely struggled. If you look at, there's the XG tiers, poor, average, good, and great as far as shots. Betcher's had 4 great shots this year, which means it's a 33% or greater of going in. He's missed all 4.
Oh my Lord.
It's tough.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, it's just over 4. You expect at least one of them to go with a 33% chance, right? And that's like at the minimum. He's had 58%, 51%, 41%, and 37%. None of them have gone in.
Tell me your take on Toykert. By the way, Toykert, everyone's doing it different now. Apparently the announcers clarified that he told them to say Toykert in the thing. Maybe you've been getting it right. I've been getting it wrong all season, but Toykert apparently is what he wants to go with. What do you feel about him? I honestly, if he's not scoring, I don't see a whole lot that he offers the team for us compared to his peers. And you didn't put him in the 11 there. Is that on purpose? Is that because you just want to see someone else other than him, or is that because he's just not performing?
I think he just needs a reset. I think he's very Nico Gioacchini-esque in their profiles, in that they don't do a whole lot other than score.
Yeah,
Nico's was more based on, like, he had the speed to get to the end of the ball and score. And Seti, we're just going to go with Seti as his name from now on. Yeah, he puts the ball on net, even though he hasn't really put the ball on net this year. So
I know.
Yeah, I think he just kind of needs a reset. Whether that be just play 20 minutes, not be the focal point. I think that's probably also a bit of the problem, is that teams have like, oh, he's the goal scorer, so we kind of have to stop him. Obviously, that doesn't change the fact that he's just missing the target on relatively open shots. But yeah, I think he just needs a bit of a reset, so I would put him on the bench.
I think that's totally fair. I like that 11, Mike. I think that we could see that. I mean, because Betcher's played, I think, in every match so far. He's played.
I think you have to play 2 when you play against a back 5 too. Numerically, otherwise Klaus would just get swallowed.
Yep.
He's great against 1v2, but 1v3 is a different animal.
So Mike, heading to Minnesota, and you can kind of take this both. You can take it about the MLS match. You can take it about the U.S. Open Cup match, but you can start wherever you want. Maybe we start with the MLS first. Give me a goal for this team that could lead us to success. Maybe one of a couple things. You don't have to say a couple, but just give me one thing that you think will be a success indicator for us in this match. And 2, give me your prediction in Minnesota. And just give me both predictions while you're at it.
Ooh, that is,
I know,
so hard, isn't it?
I want to see the 11s before I say anything, but I'm going to put you on the spot. I'll put myself in the spot as well.
I think we're going to lose the Open Cup.
Okay.
Because I think we're going to prioritize the MLS. And I think we're going to draw this weekend. That's my prediction for the 2. So
goals in the draw, or like a tough 0-0 or 1-1?
I think it's a 1-1.
Okay.
Yeah, I think once again we'll score first and then drop points because we're good at that. As far as what we need to see in order to feel some hope, we'll go back to what I talked about last week. Health. There is for me, the only goal is to have 75% of your starting 11 on the field. That's my goal. Will we see it this weekend? With Kessler back, if Horn's back, we're right on that threshold. If Durkin's back, we're probably over that threshold. Yep. And then we can have a conversation. We'll see if we're any good, if they're super rusty or whatever that may be. But that's the only thing that I could see progression from, because we've just seen enough of 5 to 6 starters to know what it's going to be. So we have to see more from the people that should be starting.
So I'm going to align with you. 1-1 is what I was thinking for the MLS match. U.S. Open Cup game, it's hard because I just don't know. Like, I heard Minnesota, I think it was Minnesota in the prior round. What's his name? Eric Ramsey, their coach, wasn't even there. He was with the rest of the first team training, getting ready for their next match. So they showed the world where they sit on the whole U.S. Open Cup situation. Yeah. I don't think they'll do the same thing in this Wednesday, but it's hard to make an adjustment because I think you want to blood or give minutes to players like Leuven, like Durkin, if they're getting back here. Like, this is a place you can do that. And I'm not saying it's like a error-free zone or like a place where they can just do whatever they want. But again, I think you got to prioritize MLS. When we talk to Diego, when you read that newspaper clip, it is we will make the playoffs. And then what he said afterwards is like, also, we want to, go as far as we can in the U.S. Open Cup, especially this year when it's getting more of a condensed format of the tournament from an MLS perspective. They have to prioritize MLS. You have much more runway there. You have much more likelihood to get where you want to go there, and you have plenty of time to do so. And the injuries are on the mend. So I'm with you. I think we cannot deprioritize this match in looks of trying to get into the next round of the Open Cup. I think you got to take every match like it's your last with this team right now. Like every match they should be fighting and clawing for, because I think people just aren't seeing it right now. So you got to prove to us that you want it, and I think fans will come around to that, maybe get used to it. But it's a tough time. Mike. I mean, like confidence is down. These guys, you said it before, like they're probably in their own heads about everything. Like, oh, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. But we can't pull them out of it. They have to pull themselves out of this tailspin. I don't think it's any one person's fault, but it's going to take a collective to get over the hump.
Yeah, agreed. Everything you said, totally agree.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Well, we covered a lot of ground here in the show. That was a fun one. Very cathartic, reliving that sporting match. But it's a bummer we're not playing them anymore this season. I know they wish they could play us every day. That comment to me was a load of crap. I mean, like, if they would have just beaten the brakes off of us, I get it. I would say the same thing. Probably wouldn't, because I'm not a dick. But, I mean, these guys, like, do they realize who they are as well? Like, they were lower than us, or they were equal with us on points. Yet they're acting like they're like first, second, third, whatever in the conference. I wish you played them every day. That'd be the happy place for me.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think we should play them in Colombia at some point.
Dude.
We should play them 3 times a season.
Ooh.
1 time at each place. 1 time meet you in the middle.
Mike.
50-50 stands.
That's got to have been floated before. Has it ever been floated before?
Have you been a part of MLS? There's not a lot of.
No, the
brain power is lacking.
Yeah.
With a lot of their decisions. But I think it'd be electric.
What's the football field hold, Mike? Do you know?
I'm not a Mizzou guy, so I don't know. But it's definitely more than both of the stadiums.
Yeah.
It's and probably what, 60, 50, 60?
Because they're building on top of it right now, right? What's the new capacity going to be? Right now, it's at 62,000.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Oh, Columbia wouldn't know. That would be a blast.
We'll never see it.
Yeah.
We'll never see it ever. No, because that would just be, it'd be too easy for them. But it'd be fun.
Nothing easy is ever worth doing for MLS. No. It turns out.
Unless it's Miami. Unless it's Miami.
All right. Well, dude, thank you for joining the show. It's always a blast talking to you, and I feel better, right? We've kind of sorted through the trauma of last night. I'm not feeling like, we're going to all of a sudden just turn around out of nothing, but you got to understand what's going on first before you can like levy judgment and know where we're going. But, we can only be hopeful about this team figuring out getting it over the line. It starts small, like go up there, fight tooth and nail in Minnesota in both matches, and then come back. And I think we actually are still away after that on the next road trip. So we got a couple games away from home now. We've kind of blown our chances at home, frankly. We have not been a good home team. So go out, figure it out on the road, go down as underdogs and make something happen. Like we were early on in our, earliest tenure. So love it. Fun show, Mike. Again, thank you for coming on. If anyone wants to hear more from Mike, he does some incredible analysis. If you follow him on Instagram or Twitter or X at Chat City Tactics. And Mike, tell us about the Substack as well and the content you're putting out there.
Yeah, so 48 hours after every game, I do a big, long breakdown, typically talking about team selection, tactical things we saw, do a little bit of ranting here and there, depending on what I think we need to talk about. And then, it's just kind of that. I do some deep dives here and there, transfer stuff. I have a big one coming out hopefully soon. It's an article. It's called Where Goals Come From. And that's kind of like a foundational piece of analytic talk that's happened in American soccer for a while, and I'm going to make it very City focused. And we're going to talk about all 3 years of City, where the goals have come from, kind of how it's happened, I think it'd be interesting. It was kind of a learning as it go. So that's on the coming. I need to find like a good time, hopefully after a win, where people want to actually read that. Because if it's after a loss, people are like, oh, the nerd's talking about XG again. I'm not going to click on that. So if we can win a game, maybe we'll have it come out soon.
Yep.
But that's kind of what I'm working on.
All the teams got to do is win, right? I mean, it's now been over 2 months since we won a game, a real MLS game, not U.S. Open Cup game. Reminder there. But yes, if you guys all like what Mike's saying here, He does, again, some great work on the stuff. I always enjoy the reads. They're something you always learn. There's a joke sprinkled in there, there, Mike, as well. Like you get the value out of there. You definitely get the value. So
it's free too. Just remember, it's free. It's free. I'm not asking for money. I wanted to write about it and talk about City, and that's why we chat City Tactics over here. So
there we go. So follow, subscribe to Chat City Tactics. Man does hell of a job. Mike, again, thanks for coming on, and we will have you back on here soon, hopefully in better times. One can hope, one can wish. But until then, all for City, and thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.